I just want you to tell me about Lifeguides.
Lifeguides is a transformational program that I created as a consequence of working with clients. 20 years belly to belly with people who are struggling with issues in their lives, and they present with a whole variety of issues. And I created a program, a system, and a method of healing that addresses everything. And it addresses everything that shows up in ordinary life as a problem or a challenge or a difficulty through a system that is in our energetic field, through the chakra system. And I love the chakra system because it is, it works and it's predictable and it contains the whole universe within it. Every karmic challenge that we might have gone through, every trauma that we might have experienced in our history is connected to our chakra system in a way that provides a portal through which we can do some great transformational healing. And I developed as a transformational coach, understanding that I was able to create spiritual technology that helps people go through the transformational process. And I work mainly on two levels of healing the mental body, the consciousness, and I created 3 practical steps that work for everybody in understanding how to master their mind, independently of whatever the issue that's presenting in the reality. These 3 steps help bring the mind out of a state of fear and contraction into a remembering of the truth of who we actually are and our spiritual divine nature. And it expands us into being empowered to be fully ourselves, to be coming back to who we really are. And the 3 steps, just briefly, how to heal the mental body. First of all, there needs to be awareness of what the internal dialogue is doing. What are the voices of fear saying, either loudly or quietly, that seduce us into illusion and misperception about who we actually are? But we believe those perceptions because they are convincing. They hoodwink us into seducing us into our lower selves and the lower aspects of the mind that are worrying and contracted. So first of all, we need to be aware of what those subtle voices are saying. So I have various tools to support in raising that awareness that's based on the chakra system that takes us on a journey through each of the chakras. And then we work with transforming those negative perceptions into true positive ideas of the truth of who we are. So usually it's just a question of going into the opposite positive of what the fear-based consciousness is saying. Mm-hmm. And then step 3 is about practice and nourishment. So catching the mind when it gets seduced down into the lower self and the illusions and the misperceptions, and supporting the mind in having the tools that it needs to transform those misperceptions into the opposite positive reality of who we actually are in our divine nature. And then nourishment is a way to feed the mind with positive nutrition of positive consciousness that helps us reconnect to the truth of who we are. And then the other level of healing that I focus on in the transformational program is the emotional level of healing. And the highest truth of all emotions is all feelings fully felt and integrated can transform into love, into joy, and into happiness. And when we work with emotions, we're really working with the energetic system, and it's really valuable to support people in understanding what they're embodying when stressed or when challenged, and to empower people to understand where the contraction may exist or the tension may exist in their body, because that is actually the portal that they can go through to find the expansion and the healing. And healing emotional wounds is similar to a soul retrieval process, in that whenever we go through a trauma in our history, we contract in our energy. We stop breathing fully so we can stop feeling fully, so we can cope with the situation. That has a couple of consequences. It teaches us a pattern of not feeling, and teaches us a habit of numbing down our own energetic aliveness. And we want to transform that pattern into a choice to fully occupy our energetic aliveness, to bring the breath back into the place where it was contracted at a time of trauma, so that we can pick up the energy that was trapped inside that experience. And that may sound like a complicated journey or a complicated process, but it doesn't have to be. It can be broken down into simple steps that, first of all, again, raising awareness, noticing within your own system when stressed and challenged, where you're feeling that tension, having a willingness to be present with the discomfort that arises as we feel it, and habituating ourselves to be present with the discomfort enough to bring the breath back into those places of tension, so we can reclaim the energy back from our history. Everything that is in our biography lives in our biology, and when we establish right relationship with our biology and we sensitize ourselves to have a communication that involves both speaking and listening, then we're more sophisticated in our capacity to practice excellent self-care, to truly love ourselves, and we elevate the idea of loving the self from just a nebulous "how do I do that" sort of thing into an actual practice, something that you can do on a daily, regular basis that empowers you to be fully embodied and in right relationship with your energetic system, so that it's no longer a mystery, or it's no longer something that's disconnected or disassociated from the self. And then the third step with healing emotions is compassion, to enter into the frequency and the vibration of love or above when we're meeting this energetic contraction, so that that energy can actually transmute into creative potential. Then we aliven our system, then we can get on with the work of creating our lives by design and living our lives the way that we truly, truly want to, rather than, believing that we have to sort of go along with what's happening. So my intention with the Lifeguides transformational program is truly to empower people to understand how to be their own life coach, how to be their own guru, to work with very simple yet potent practical tools of transformation, to support you in realizing your full potential and getting to know yourself on a whole other level. That program is the foundation of my new book, which I'm completing as we speak. And my book is called The Habit of Happiness and the Anatomy of Optimism. And in doing the research on happiness, I understood that some people are fortunate enough to naturally have characteristics that support them in being more positive and being more optimistic, and therefore having a more enjoyable experience of life. And those characteristics can become habits that we can learn and we can practice if we don't have that natural tendency towards optimism or towards a perspective of purposefulness, for example, where we can see our challenges as opportunities. And when we start to cultivate those habits of focusing on positive mental attitude and raising our emotional vibration to love or above, then we experience more joy, we experience more happiness. It's not that, we need to be in a superficial bandwidth of just being happy all the time. Part of what a joyful experience of life is having the full spectrum of emotion and having full access to that full spectrum of emotion. And the way to do that is through energetic aliveness, to really be present with everything that's arising in a way that doesn't overwhelm us, in a way that allows us to know that we have choices and we can navigate through this territory in a way that empowers us to arrive at our highest self, our highest expression of ourselves. So in being a transformational coach, I'm not wanting to change people into something that they're not, or transform them. It's more awakening to the whole truth and the full truth of your own potential, of who you truly are in your highest expression of yourself. And so I'm excited about the release of my book to support people in understanding how to cultivate these habits that may feel complicated, but they're actually quite simple, to arrive at a place in life where you can manifest and you can create and attract everything that you're wanting. Also supporting an experience of wellness and an experience of health that exists in the optimum bandwidth. And I truly believe natural medicine is the way to achieve health. I wholeheartedly know that depression, anxiety, addiction can be resolved on this energetic level, and by establishing this type of relationship with the self. And so therefore that's why I'm passionate about what I do and sharing this information with others to empower them to be able to apply these simple tools in a very profound and effective way.